What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Jared Speaks, episode 17. Before I get into today's episode, I have something to say, and I mean every word of it. The messages have been coming in on Facebook, on TikTok, people sharing their stories, telling me they feel the same way, telling me they thought that they were the only one, and telling me to keep going. I want you to know that means more to me than I have the words to describe right now. This show started as a goal, and it has become something I didn't see coming. And the people reaching out and saying, I see myself in this, you are not just listeners anymore. You are part of what this is. And I'm grateful for every single one of you. Today's episode is different from anything I've done so far, because I'm going to tell you about something that happened to me today. Not something I researched, not something I prepared, something that happened a few hours ago. And I want to walk you through it in real time because I think it shows you something that 16 episodes of theory never could. It shows you what the tools actually look like when they work. Let's go. Earlier today, I was sitting outside in my backyard next to a tree, just sitting, not doing anything in particular. And I heard it. A hoot owl. That deep hollow sound that carries the air in a way that feels like it comes from somewhere older than everything around it. And I just sat there and listened. And with my mind's eye, I could picture it sitting in that tree, just existing, not worrying about anything, not performing anything. Just an owl in a tree doing exactly what an owl does. And something about that picture put me into this quiet state, a stillness. And out of that stillness came a memory I had not thought about in a long time. My grandpa's house. Growing up near the woods, hearing that same sound as a kid without knowing what it was. Just knowing it was out there in the dark, and somehow that felt okay. It felt right. Felt like the world was the right size. I sat with that for a while. And I think I found my favorite animal today. I know it sounds simple, but sometimes the simple moments are the ones that matter the most. Because that stillness, that quiet that Al gave me today, I needed it for what came next. A little while after that, I found myself in a situation where I overheard some people talking. And from what I could hear, it seemed like the conversation might have been about me. And I'm not even 100% certain it was. But the thought that it might be, that was enough. my heart started racing. Not a little, it was racing. I could feel it pounding so hard, I could hear it in my ears. And the thoughts came fast. Every version of what I wanted to say, every response my brain had loaded up, ready to fire. The kind of thoughts that feel completely justified in the moment, the kind that feel righteous, the kind that feel like they deserve to come out. And here's where I want to pause, because what happened next is the whole episode. I did not say any of it. Not because I forced myself to stay quiet, not because I was afraid, but because something in me caught it mid thought, like a hand reaching out and grabbing something before it hits the floor. I've talked about this on the show before. That moment of snapping out of autopilot and becoming the observer instead of just the reactor. And I've talked about it as a concept, as something worth developing as a skill. Tonight, I lived it. I sat there and I felt my heart pounding, and I made a decision. I'm going to breathe deliberately on purpose. And I'm going to see if I can actually bring this down. So I did. Slow breath in, slow breath out. And I focused on the exhale the way I had read about. Because the exhale is the part that activates the part of your nervous system that calms things down. And I kept doing it. And I could feel my heart rate starting to drop. I could feel my body starting to come back down from the edge it had been on. And then, once I was calm enough to think, I asked myself a question. Why is this bothering me? Not what am I going to do about it? Not what should I say? Just why? What is actually happening inside me right now that made my body respond this intensely to something I'm not even sure was real? And then I asked a deeper question. Is this bothering me? Or is it bothering my ego? I want to sit with that question for a second, because I think it's one of the most useful things a person can learn to ask. And I do not say that lightly. There's a difference between genuine pain and ego pain. Genuine pain comes from something that actually threatens your safety, your well being, your relationships. It comes from something that matters to the deep version of you. Ego pain comes from the image being challenged, from the story about who are you being questioned by someone else, from the feeling that you're not being seen the way you want to be seen. And the ego pain is real. I'm not dismissing it. It hurts. Tonight, it made my heart pound and made my mouth want to do something. But it is a different kind of hurt than genuine pain. And knowing which one you are dealing with can change what you do next. Because genuine pain deserves a response, it deserves to be addressed, talked through, worked out. Ego pain deserves a question. It deserves to be set with and examined and asked, what is actually underneath this? What old wound does this poke at? What is the ego protecting? Tonight, when I asked myself which one it was, when I really sat with it, I realized something. I did not know for certain those people were even talking about me. And even if they were, the version of me they were talking about is no longer who I am right now. I have been doing the work. I have been changing. And you cannot be hurt by someone's opinion of a person you are no longer being. That realization did not come from logic. It came from the breathing, from the pause, from the question. That is metacognition. Thinking about your own thinking in real time. And tonight, it worked. Here's where tonight got strange in the best possible way. After I had calmed down, after the question had done its work, I was sitting there and I let my eyes relax. I went to this state, almost like a trance. And something started happening in my mind. A video started playing. Not something I put there, it just arrived. I could see myself walking off a road into darkness, going towards someone who was in that dark place. And I had words coming to me I had not thought of consciously. A script, a message, like something was being delivered to me rather than created by me. The message was this: if your heart is racing right now and you are angry, hear my voice. Start asking why, not what to do about it, just why. Because the answer to why is where the real thing lives. Why is the door that leads from the reaction back to yourself. And I sat there in that chair and thought, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I've talked about something that has come up on the show before, because tonight it came back around in a way I could not ignore. There was a woman, I don't want to give her name away. Years ago, she was praying for me, and she stopped and told me, "You will bring people out of the darkness and into the light." My mom was there when it happened. She heard every bit of it. I carried that for years without knowing what it meant, without having a place for it, without having a place to put it. And then I started this podcast, 16 episodes about consciousness, the mind, the unseen parts of being human. People reaching out and saying, this is exactly what I needed. This found me at exactly the right moment, they would say. I thought I was the only one who thought this way. And then tonight, sitting in that chair after everything happened, I had a vision of myself walking into the dark to find someone who needed a light. And words arriving that I did not write. A message I did not plan. I'm going to tell you, I know, I'm not going to tell you that I know exactly what she saw when she said those words to me. I do not know. But I know that tonight felt like a piece of something clicking into place that has been waiting a long time to fit. I want to share something about myself that I have been sitting with lately, because I think it connects to everything we've been talking about on this show, and I think a lot of you are going to recognize yourselves in it. My whole life, I have been a mirror for other people. I grew up in Southwest Virginia, thick accent, Appalachian roots. And when circumstances took me to somewhere new, I noticed the way people reacted. And I adapted fast. Within a few months, the accent softened, the slang shifted. I started sounding like wherever I was then, wherever I was from. I could feel myself adjusting in real time to fit the room I was in. And I was good at it. I could switch between versions of myself depending on who I was around. I could read the energy, reflect back what the situation needed, become the version of me that fit in. For a long time, I thought that was just being adaptable, being social, being good with people. But lately, I've been asking a harder question. Underneath all that adapting, who was I actually? And did I even know? I think somewhere along the way, I got so good at being a mirror that I forgot to look at myself, to ask what I actually thought, what I actually wanted, what I actually believed when nobody was watching and nothing needed to be adjusted. And I think the reason this podcast exists, the reason I sit down every day and talk into a microphone about consciousness and the mind and the parts of being human that nobody talks about out loud, is because I am finally turning the flashlight inward instead of outward. Finally, asking the questions that got skipped for a long time. I do not know if what I've been going through is an awakening. That word feels big, but something shifted, and it started before I recognized it was shifting, and it is still going. I have been building towards something on this show for 17 episodes without fully naming it. Today, I want to name it Metacognition. Means thinking about your own thinking. The ability to step back from your own mind and observe what it is doing rather than just being inside it. To catch yourself mid thought. To ask why instead of just reacting. To notice the pattern before the pattern finishes running. It's the skill underneath every episode of this show. When we talked about the Mandela effect and how memory reconstructs itself every time you recall it, that was metacognition applied to memory. When we talked about the brain filtering reality and how your beliefs shape what you notice, that was metacognition applied to perception. When we talked about the ego and catching the voice mid-sentence, that was metacognition applied to identity. When we talked about self-talk and asking, is this actually true or is just a pattern running? That was metacognition applied to inner voice. Tonight on that chair, I used every single one of those things at the same time without thinking about them consciously because they've become a part of how I operate now. And that is the whole point of this show. Not to know these things, to become them. To have them available in the moment when your heart is pounding and the thoughts are loading. And the easiest thing in the world would be to just react. The pause is the power. The question is light. And the more you practice it, the faster it comes. That is episode 17, everybody. To everyone who's been reaching out on Facebook, on TikTok, sharing your stories, telling me you feel seen, telling me to keep going. This episode is for you. You are a part of why I sat in the chair tonight and chose the pause over the reaction. Because I could feel the weight of what this show is becoming. And I did not want to let it down. You are not alone in any of this. Not in the racing heart. Not in the ego that wants to fire back. Not in the quiet moments where an owl in a tree takes you back somewhere that felt like home. Not in the question of who you actually are underneath all the adapting. We are fighting it out together, one episode at a time. If you have not followed yet, please do that wherever you're listening. Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, YouTube. Hit that follow button. Leave a rating if you can. And if today meant something to you, share it. You know somebody who needs this conversation. New episode tomorrow. Stay curious, take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you then.